Right then, pull up a chair, grab a pint, or a cup of tea if you're feeling proper. Because today's tale is one for the Pub History Hall of Fame. It's got everything. Dancing, sweating, dying, and confusion so thick you could spread it on toast. This episode, we're diving into the dancing plague of 1518. Yes, you heard that right. People quite literally danced themselves to death. And no, there wasn't a DJ. Imagine it. Strasbourg, July 1518. The cobbled streets are baking under the summer sun. The economy's a mess. The harvests are rubbish. And people are more stressed than a cat in a dog park. And then, out of the blue, a woman steps into the square and starts dancing, alone, wildly. No music, no festival, just her and whatever cursed groove took over her body. Her name? Frau Trophäa. Her legacy? Kicking off one of the weirdest, most unexplained mass hysteria events in recorded history. Now, to get why this happened, you've got to understand the vibe of 1518. Strasbourg, back then part of the Holy Roman Empire, was in the middle of one cosmic migraine. People were starving. Famine had gripped the region tighter than your gran holding a purse in a rough neighborhood. Plague had rolled through, leaving trauma like a bad houseguest who never left. Add in the looming threat of spiritual damnation and voila, you've got yourself a recipe for breakdown soufflé. Religious fervour was sky high, superstition was daily currency, and the line between physical illness and spiritual punishment was blurrier than a tavern brawl at midnight. So here comes Frau Trophäa. She starts dancing. Maybe people think she's mad, maybe cursed. But then others join her. A few become dozens. Dozens become hundreds. At this point, if you're picturing a medieval flash mob, pause. This wasn't cheerful. People danced until their feet bled, collapsed from exhaustion. Some reportedly died from sheer physical strain. No joy, no rhythm, just relentless motion, like the world's first and most tragic TikTok trend gone wrong. Now, you'd think the city leaders would call in doctors, clergy, someone, but no. What did they do? They built a bloody stage and hired musicians. Let me repeat that. They encouraged more dancing by bringing in a band. Because of course, the cure for people dancing to death is more dancing. Theory number 1. Ergotism, medieval acid trip. One theory is that people had ergot poisoning from mouldy rye. Think medieval LSD, with convulsions and no Pink Floyd soundtrack. Ergot contains compounds similar to LSD and could, in theory, cause hallucinations or spasms. But while that could explain tremors or seizures, it doesn't fully match the collective, rhythmic, coordinated flailing that went on for days. Plus, it's a bit weird that only dancing was affected. No reports of singing, crying, or yelling about the walls melting. Just dancing. So maybe not the grain. Theory number 2. Mass hysteria. When the mind breaks together. Enter John Waller, modern historian and professional party pooper, or saver, depending on your view. His idea. This was psychogenic illness, mass hysteria brought on by collective stress, grief, trauma, and religious guilt. Think of it like emotional dominoes. One person's breakdown, Trophäa, triggers another, and another. Until boom, everyone's writhing in agony, caught in a psychological cyclone where you're not entirely in control of your own limbs. It's not dancing for joy, it's dancing from psychological torment, dark stuff. By the way, get this! This wasn't even the first time it happened. Europe had several dancing plagues before, one in Aachen in 1374, for example. People just took to the streets like they were possessed by St. Vitus himself. Why him? Because back then, if anything weird happened, folks usually blamed a saint, or a demon, or their neighbour's cat. Back in Strasbourg, the city council eventually got wise to the fact that turning the town square into a rave zone wasn't working. So they changed tactics. The afflicted were dragged to a shrine to St. Vitus, forced into penance rituals, and walked barefoot until they collapsed from exhaustion or divine forgiveness, whichever came first. And wouldn't you know it, things started to slow down, probably because the dancers were too injured, exhausted or dead to continue. Moral of the story, when in doubt, throw religion at the problem, or possibly a band. They tried both. So, who's to blame? Was it the leaders who thought a stage show would fix it? The priests who leaned on punishment and penance? Or was it just a society so soaked in fear and misery that their brains simply short-circuited? Moral clarity? Not really. This wasn't evil, just confusion, panic and desperate coping. Purpose? People didn't want to dance. They needed to. It was compulsion, not choice. Belief versus action. The leaders believed they were doing right, but their actions turned out to be as helpful as a lead parachute. The tragedy here isn't just the dancing, it's that no one understood what was happening, and instead of care, they gave chaos. After a few weeks, the outbreak fizzled out. No dramatic cure, no miracle, just exhaustion, exile, and the slow crawl back to grim medieval normality. And yet, the legend lives on. Every now and then, when society breaks under the pressure, financial crises, pandemics, war, you hear whispers of mass hysteria again. Maybe not dancing plagues, but TikTok cults, conspiracy loops, or mass delusions that grip whole populations. Same brains, different century. So what can we learn from the dancing plague of 1518? That people under extreme pressure can do the unthinkable. That the body and mind are more deeply connected than we understand. That bad leadership can make everything worse. And that sometimes the weirdest historical footnotes reveal the most about us. When faced with madness, compassion beats confusion every time. And when your neighbour starts grooving a little too hard in the street, maybe check on them, yeah? Stay curious, stay sharp, and stay just sober enough to remember it all. This was just a swig of history, and if it wasn't in your textbook, it bloody well should have been. And before you go, do a Brew a favour and like, share and subscribe.